back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is KHACHI, and I'm standing in my kitchen. Now, this kitchen has gotten a lot of exposure in the media, in magazines, and in social as well, and we've got a lot of feedback. People want to know more about what went into designing it, what went into some of the features, and why I designed it the way I did. So let's talk about that. When it comes to kitchen design, I have a certain philosophy, and I talk about this when I lecture to other designers and builders and even consumers. A lot of us are fixated on using that working triangle. It's just such a common thing out there, and everybody just bases kitchen design on the working triangle. Well, things have evolved, and that was great 30, 40, 50 years ago, but lifestyles are very different, and that's what it's all about. It's all about today's lifestyle. Things have changed. So a working triangle simply doesn't suffice. That concept of drawing a line between the sink, the fridge, and the cooktop and keeping it as concise as possible is just not sufficient. So you need to broaden your thought a little bit and think a little bit in zones. What really goes into a kitchen? Because a lot more goes into a kitchen today than those three elements. And the zones are important to identify in your kitchen. So whether it's coffee, whether it's baking, whether it's wine, family cooking, doing homework, kids sitting around the island, these are all considered zones, and you have to accommodate all of these to develop a kitchen that simply functions well and people don't cross paths. So when I start designing a kitchen and I do the floor plan, I actually draw lines where people would move. So coming into the kitchen, going into the breakfast area, walking out that way, walking in the other way, and I look at how many times these lines cross and whether it's critical or not. Sometimes I see people design kitchens where you actually have to walk through the kitchen to get to the breakfast area. That is a huge conflict. And if you don't notice that when you start working in that space, everybody's constantly getting in your way. So it's really important to identify zones, look at traffic patterns, and then once all of these are laid out and all that attention is paid to all the zones and all the traffic flow, then making it beautiful is a lot easier, and then you have a kitchen that really functions well for you. So let's talk about this kitchen. To me, one of the most important zones was the food preparation zone, which happens here on the island. So I wanted a very big island. This is just over 8 feet long. It's a massive piece of quartz countertop. And that was one element that was very important to me. Getting a kitchen that is very durable and puts up with the wear and tear that I'm going to give it. And quartz is one of those elements that really works well. It's very durable, it's impermeable to water, it doesn't stain, and it's a great product for kitchens. Now, that's not to say we don't use natural stone. Sometimes we do use natural stone. I may use a beautiful, unique piece of natural stone on the island that already may have a patina. We may actually leather it to do to it what Mother Nature would do over 1,000 years. We do it mechanically. We wear it so that it just naturally develops a nice patina. And that's okay as well, but for areas around the cooktop, we want something that's very durable and easy to wipe and clean, especially here. And you'll notice that we took that countertop right up onto the backsplash. Now, because it's got a lot of veining, that's a challenge. Now, that's one long piece, and I didn't want it in one piece. I wanted a little bit character in the backsplash. So I actually purposely divided it into several pieces, and I put a V-groove there to identify those joints. I don't always want to fight the fact that there is a joint there. So I put a V-groove, and it really identifies a joint. It says there's a joint there. We've got one piece there, and we purposely changed the veining to create some character. It's a very simple kitchen, but these simple, understated elements really stand out beautifully. Now, it's very symmetric, it's very neutral, and that's what it's all about. Not a lot of materials, but the materials that are there have a lot of character. So let's go back to the island. So when it comes to this food preparation, the sink is an important element. You'll notice there's a lot of stainless steel showing around the sink. This sink, actually, if you went by the manufacturer's recommendations, the cutout would be on the inside here, so all you would see is this opening. I decided to go bigger, right to the edges of the stainless steel, and expose this stainless steel ledge. It's actually a nice drip edge. So if you put things here, the water just simply comes into the sink. It's easier to clean up. But a nice added element is the fact that it gave me the opportunity to create this slide along colander here, which is just so useful. I love this thing. I took a piece of phenolic, I ordered it online, took a couple of strips and screwed them on the bottom, did a cutout, bought a colander, put it inside, and now you have this thing that slides along, and I'll tell you, it is so valuable when it comes to taking a hot pot of pasta off of here and being able to drain it right in there. It's wonderful. The faucet is a pull-out faucet from Brizo. I love this thing. It's beautiful. I think it's a Hansgrohe actually, and I love this thing. It's just very stylish. It's understated. It's beautiful. You got a soap pump on the side of it, and this area just works wonderfully. Now, when it comes to accessories, you need power. Now, this island on the backside, on the inside of the legs, has 2 outlets, and that's fantastic. If you want to come to the island, bring a laptop, plug it in. In fact, I always have mine plugged in there. That's wonderful. But when it comes to accessories here, I decided to go with something a little bit more understated, incognito. So I've got this tower that pulls out. It's a power port that pulls out. It's got receptacles here, a built-in night light, and then when it's not in use, you push it back down and it tucks away and you don't see it. So everything is clean, out of the way, and nothing is in your face. So let's talk about what else is in this island. You've got seating at the back, plenty of stools for everybody to gather around and sit. And in fact, when we have get-togethers, everybody, and you all can probably relate, everybody gathers in the kitchen. But when you look at everyone's traffic patterns, nobody gets in my way or anybody's way that's working back here preparing food and serving it. And that's what it's all about. On the backside, we've got a rollout here that's wire. That's where all the oils and all the vinegars sit. We've got our built-in dishwasher in this section here. You've got your sink cabinet with storage underneath. Then you've got your garbage and recycling center. Very important aspect to any kitchen. You want to be organized and be able to sort things out here. From here, take them out. So this garbage center is very critical. It's a full dedicated drawer with this drawer on top that has space for all the extra garbage bags and things. And then to the right of that, we've got a 15-inch wine cooler. It's not a big wine cooler, and I'll come back to that later on, but that's there at the other end of the island. So the details in the design, again, are very understated. The door profiles are just a simple step, and we've got a lacquered finish on here. The lacquer finish on here is kind of a mid-tone of a color. It's got a bit of grade. It's darkened down in relation to the rest of the cabinetry, which is a very soft white. We took this color and we did this section here. This tower is done in the same color as the island, which kind of really puts a lot more attention on this back wall. Let's talk about this section. This is where we have our consumables. Our consumables are items that we consume on a daily basis, whether it's dried goods or refrigerated goods. So this is where the refrigerator unit is. Now, this entire thing is pretty tall. That's because we have 9-foot ceilings here. We wanted to take advantage of that and create that grandness in here. So the cabinetry goes right up to the top. What happens? You've got all this cabinetry up there that you may think, well, how am I going to get to that? Well, you get a step stool and you get to those cabinets. The nice thing about that is you have storage for things that you don't use every day. They go up there, and when you need access to them, you pull out the step stool and you can have access to them. Not always hardware on all of them. I didn't put hardware on some of these to just make them look like part of the paneling, but they all operate and they have storage inside. So we've got our full refrigerator here. We've got a small pantry here with some rollouts below. And then you've got your bank of ovens. That's where we come to the first appliance set. So the ovens are very important to me. We've got a full-size Wolf oven down here. That's a convection oven. Above that, in place of a microwave, which I don't love, don't like cooking with microwave ovens, I've got a Wolf induction steam oven. This is, induction, it's a convection steam oven, and it's a great alternative to a microwave. It's fantastic for all kinds of cooking. If you haven't used one, I recommend that you go in and you try one out. Now, there's a great tip. A lot of appliance manufacturers have showrooms now that are actually functioning showrooms. So you can actually set an appointment to go in and ask to cook with one of their chefs with their appliances. So you can learn all the things that can be done with these appliances before you go and make an investment in buying them. So we've got storage above here for some trays and maybe cookbooks, and then we've got a rollout below, again, for storage that would relate to that cooking center here. We've got some more storage space here for dry goods, again, consumables, with some off-seasonal storage above. And then we get to this cooking center here, which houses the cooktop and the hood fan. This is another important element to me, and I wanted a space that didn't have to be massive, but you need landing space on either side of your cooktop. So when you design your cooking station, make sure you have at least maybe 15 to 20 inches on either side for a landing space at the minimum. I think it's ridiculous when people put a range right up against the wall or a fridge beside it and it's in a cubby and you just can't function. It's nice to have some landing space around it. Now, you want to make sure that your upper cabinets are maintaining a safe distance from the cooktop so the heat from here does not affect those, or splashing around does not affect those. So we have adequate space here, and then we made space for this beautiful hood fan. You will notice that that soft white that carries through is a matte finish. When you get to this hood fan, this is a polished finish. So play with the sheens a little bit, because that also adds a little bit of subtle interest, and it's beautiful in the space. Down here, we've got some metal detail. And talking about metal, before I mention that, you will notice that the metals in this space are mixed up. We've got everything from polished nickel in some areas of the room. We've got some chromes. We've got some beautiful golds, even in the hardware on the cabinetry, and they all work well together, including this black on the faucet. Now, these pendant lights are Kelly Wearstler lights. They're beautiful lights. I love them. They're so understated but gorgeous, and they don't really take up the view as you're standing there looking at this kitchen. They just accentuate it. They accentuate the balance here, the symmetry, which is exactly what I wanted. Now let's go back to this cooktop hood fan, and you'll see down here we've got some metal detail. This is actually a piece of MDF that's been sprayed with a metal finish. It's actually metal shavings with some binder. They spray it on, they patina it to give that feel of metal. It actually looks and feels like metal, but it's a lot more cost effective than actually fabricating it out of metal. We've got our hood fan underneath, and here's an important note. When you're creating a hood fan, go the extra step and make this panel operate. Having that access to that space is priceless. You can easily get in, service it, install it, make sure the venting is done right. When you have to work from the bottom and you get it in and you get that vent in, there's no way to seal it. There's no way to ensure that it's working properly. So you might have some leaking air inside, and that's not great. So when you have access here, it makes for a great installation. Let's talk about this cooktop. We talked about the backsplash going all the way up, so this area is easy to clean. For me, the perfect type of cooking is induction cooking. Now, I've tried everything else. I've tried electric, I've tried gas, and I'm not huge fans of all of those. The induction, to me, is the perfect way to cook. I love this cooktop. You just have so much control over what you do. It's very quick and it's very efficient. Now, piece of glass that sits on the countertop. So often you do a cutout, the induction cooktop goes in, but then it sits up over the countertop a little bit so you have a lip. I look at all these things and I go, how can I fix that? That bothers me. So I have the countertops cut such that there is a dado little lip on the side that's sunken down. So this cooktop actually sits into the countertop, and we have just enough gap. Now, here's another caution. Don't always go by the manufacturer's recommendations on the sizes. Actually measure them and leave the right amount of gap so that it fits, but it's not too much. And that's exactly what I did here. I dictated how big the gap should be. Once the cooktop went in, I took some black silicone, taped it off, put the black silicone in, pulled the tape off, and we have this seamless look here that not only looks beautiful, but this cooking area is so easy to clean and wipe up after you're done. You'll notice underneath, we've got that dark color again that mirrors what's on the island and centers nicely in here, but you'll notice that we have all drawers. Now, the door styles in here are very simple. All the drawers are fat panels, and then all the bigger drawers and doors have a simple step profile on them, so it's very understated, but these drawers are fantastic. They're a magnificent way of organizing your lower cabinets. It's just so much access is what you want, easy access. So these pull out and you have tons of space inside, and they're great for pots and pans. These upper ones are great for utensils and cutlery, and they're easy access, like I said, and it's a great way to organize. Now, one thing I do is I take the upper cabinets, and in here we've got some consumables and dry goods such as spices and things. On the other side, I keep all the glasses that are easy to reach, but the plates don't go up high. Plates are easy to incorporate down below. So in that drawer there, we've got a pull-out here, and we've got some plate dividers, and this is a great way to access all your plates. They're a little bit heavy at times when you're taking a few at a time, so taking them up from the top is difficult. Being able to reach down and taking them out, it's just more ergonomically pleasing, and it's easier to access. Now, as you carry further down, we've got another pantry space there. And that pantry space is for non-consumables and small appliances, meaning things like the salad spinner, large trays, serving trays that you want access to that other people may need access to, and that way they don't get in your way. They go around and access that space. And then that carries us on to the breakfast area. So let's talk about that. So as we walk into this breakfast area, there's a lot of thought that went into designing this the way that I did. Now you'll notice that the cabinetry carries through. I love blending spaces by carrying elements from one space into another. So the fact that the cabinetry blends into here prevents it from feeling compartmentalized. It makes this entire space feel like kitchen space. So it just feels bigger. Now that cabinetry carries through, and what we did is we integrated that wine display into the existing cabinetry. So I created some details that go around. We put some LED lighting on either side, covered that with some etched glass, and that just mutes the color coming through, and that LED ribbon is RGB, so it has red, green, and blue, which in turn you can translate that to any color under the rainbow, so it can not only be white, but it can be any other color that you want depending on the mood or time of year that you feel like changing the color to. Anyways, so that gives you flexibility and it looks beautiful, but in between there is what it's all about. So we've got that wine display, and that wine display is actually a modular display. It's from a company called Stacked, and they're 12 by 12 roughly, or 12 by 15 units that group together with a special spline that joins them. And we've grouped a whole bunch of them, and I basically designed everything around it to fit that unit. It's very economical, it's beautiful, and it looks fantastic. Now we're talking about that wine cooler, so that brings us back to that wine cooler. That wine cooler is right here. It's easily accessible from this space. Again, because people access the fridge and the wine cooler all the time, you don't want them to have to cross paths with you when you're preparing food or cooking. They can come to the wine fridge here, they can go to the other refrigerator from the other way, so they don't cross paths. This wine cooler facilitates this wine display. I don't have the room in this house to do a large walk-in wine cooler or a wine room. The wine cellar would not only be very expensive, but it needs a lot of space. So the compromise is to have a wine cooler and a wine display. When you want to use the wine, you know you're going to have some wine. You take some whites, put them in here, and they're ready within an hour or so to the right temperature. Or if you know you use them all the time, keep a few bottles in here. You keep the excess on there. Not only does it look beautiful, but you have access to wine all the time. So these elements are all the components as far as zones that I'm talking about. Similar to coffee, depending on how much of a coffee aficionado you may be, you may want a bigger space. To me, that machine does it all, and that's all I need. It sits there nicely. I have my coffee, I've got my perfect beans in there, and it's easy to run, and I don't need a lot of space. So back to the wine area, you've got a little bit of storage underneath for liquor bottles or any accessories that you want, and that really rounds this space up. Now, this is not a big kitchen, but it functions so well for my family and I. It's just designed the way I need it to be. So when you're designing your kitchen, make sure you identify those zones. When you identify a zone, make sure you put in what you need to make that zone function and deliver its purpose properly. And then you get onto aesthetics and make it look the way you want. To me, that's the easy part. And then you end up with a kitchen that not only looks beautiful, but it functions well for you. And that is the important part. I hope this video helps you and inspires you in designing your space. And make sure you comment below and maybe let me know what zones are most important to you. Thanks for watching.